I first got it, I was angry at any item that reminded me that I was disabled. I was upset. I did not want to be disabled. And frankly, I didn't believe I was going to be permanently disabled. I thought that I was going to find a magic cure and be over this, and this is just going to be a little bump in the road. As I've come along this trip, being disabled, I've realized the importance of being able to rely on my walker and my cane and my wheelchair.
I started walking with crutches when I was 8.
Oh, wow.
Before that, you're probably going to think this is funny, but I used a scooter board that a friend of the family built for me. And that's how I would get around. You just put a piece of wood on some casters and put some padding on the board, and I was small enough back then to where I could lay my body on a scooter board and get around. And I got around. But then I walked with crutches up until the time I got into high school. Because I used to fall a lot too, and I got like a lot of cuts and scrapes and scabs and everything. And just from a practicality standpoint, once I got into high school, it was so big. There were so many floors. There were 5 floors in my high school. And we only had like 5 minutes to get from one class to the other. So logistically, I just couldn't walk that fast. Plus with all the kids coming at me and the snow, because I grew up in the Midwest. So you got all the snow and the ice in the winter. And it just was a very unsafe situation for me. So right before I started my freshman year in high school is when I got a chair, motorized chair.
My wheelchair, a cane, and 2 instruments I use to get dressed with.
Okay.
One's to put on my stockings with. The other is a thing that you pick up things off the floor with.
Like a
So
little
those-
gripper
Yeah,
thing?
a
Okay.
gripper thing, yeah.
Okay.
So those are what I use.
I use a range of assistive devices, and I started using them in 1994 and 95 was when I first came down with this condition. My first assistive device was similar to a ventilator. It was called a turtle shell, and it kind of just in the olden days it would be considered an iron lung device. I don't know if you young folks will know what that is, but in the early 40s and 50s they had iron lungs for people who had polio. The turtle shell would be put on my chest, and it actually would do the breathing for me. It would do the muscle side of the breathing. Typically in the morning I wake up and I take medication that will help me to be able to move, so I have to wait for an hour until that starts to work, and then after it starts to work I can get up and start moving. Oftentimes morning is what I call the disaster time, because that's the time when I tend to drop glasses of milk or cereal and explode them all over my house. That doesn't happen every day, but it happens weekly, without a doubt.
I get up in the morning and my chair's like, my wheelchair is like right by my bedside. And then I have enough mobility to where I can use the bed to kind of walk along, and then I just kind of plop myself in my chair. And then, I use the restroom and take a shower, and I have bars on my bathroom, on the tub. I mean, not on the tub, on the toilet. So those help me, because in the past I've fallen while I've tried to get up when I didn't have bars, and I spent 16 hours on the floor because I was too stubborn to realize that I couldn't get myself up anymore. I used to be able to. I had a lot more mobility in my legs, and it's gotten worse over the years. But I wasn't willing to accept the fact that I couldn't do it anymore, because I've always been able to do it. So I couldn't fathom the fact that, well, what's different now? Like, I should be able to do this. I've done this my whole life. I should be able to do it.
When I get up in the morning, we'll start there.
Okay.
I get up in the morning, I put on my, get dressed,
Right.
So use my stocking and use my, I call it my extra hand, to pick up like my nylons or pick up anything that's on the floor that I'll be dressing with. My cane I use to go walk to go get my clothes
Okay.
and to go to the restroom. And then once I'm dressed, then I go out to the kitchen, fix breakfast using my cane. And the reason I walk in the house is because a wheelchair is too hard to push on rugs. Plus, at home, I've got walls and I've got furniture. If I do happen to lose my balance or break, my hips break on me, I have something to grab onto. So the only thing I fear at home is slipping on water on the tile so I watch very closely for that. But I make my breakfast and then come sit in my chair, eat it, and then go to work.
Sometimes I can walk, and toward the evening I typically get weaker because I'm not as likely to walk, especially if I have been out shopping or managed to get in a daily walk or go swimming to some degree. Then later that evening I have to have a rest and a down period.
Well, I just walk I walk about 4.5 blocks to the bus stop, and then the bus comes and there's a lift on the bus, and so it'll come down and usually the drivers come out and help me on if I need it. It depends on the driver. Real nice drivers will help me but then there's some jerky drivers that are just like, no, do it yourself.
Wow.
So, well, and I don't care. I mean, I can do it myself, but I always like it because I build not a relationship necessarily, but a bond with these drivers, and they know me. They know that I'm going to be there every day at the same time. And they're like, hey, what's up? And, we kind of chit-chat about it, So it's kind of like, I feel kind of at ease, I'd like people to see past my wheelchair. And I guess to a certain extent, I have a hard time seeing past it sometimes, which is kind of funny, I guess.
Why do you have a hard time seeing past it?
I don't know. It's just like I think I see myself the way other people see me, which I don't know. Like sometimes I wish I could just get rid of it altogether and just, if I could have. I always say if I could have one day to experience life as an able-bodied person, I'd just like to see what it was like, just for kicks.
One time when I was in intensive care, they were using a walker, and they had just bought my walker for me. I just bought a silver walker, and I was walking down the hall, and I walked right past a gal that was around 85 years old, and that made me feel so terribly old because my walker looked just like her walker, and I personalized with that 85-year-old. Instead of having a unique walker or a unique experience or, in a sense, an age, something that could be related to my age or my style or my fashion, I had the same plain Jane walker as an 85-year-old who was humped over and was going to be with that walker the rest of her little gray-haired life, and I suddenly felt 80. I think that there's occasionally I have had different types of relationship with each one of my assistive devices. You'll probably notice in my comics that I have a good relationship with the IV pole. In fact, I have almost a really fun relationship with my IV pole. So it intrigues me because the IV pole, I don't have the same relationship with the gowns. And the IV pole is a one-size-fits-all, and so is the gown. But I personalize with the IV pole because it is a more comforting device to me. I seem to relate to it as in wellness, and as in getting well and being able to be more secure. So I also found early on that I wanted my family and those around me to have a certain sense of humor and a certain comfort with all the devices that were coming in and out of my room. So I decided to start naming those devices. And somewhere in the process of naming the ivy pole, my mind started relating to that ivy pole as if it were a boyfriend in a way. Just kind of crazy, but or a buddy or a pal. And so me and the ivy pole, we're buds. That's the way I look at it.
What do you call your device, I guess?
Junior for the cane.
Oh, really?
You Junior.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know. I have Junior. I call a lot of things Junior, but the cane I've always called Junior.
Like when I was trying to push that chair back 8 hours, it took me 8 hours to push the chair back. I would be going up or down a hill and I'd be like, okay, come on. But I wouldn't like name my chair. I'd just be like, come on, work with me here, work with me, you know? Come on.
Is that more for yourself?
Yeah.
That must have been exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the chair was going to answer me back like, I know, I'm coming. I know, I'm coming. But I don't know. It was just, I guess it's something to pass the time, or I don't know why I did it. I don't know.
So how would you describe your wheelchair? Like if it was a person?
If it was a person, sure wouldn't be my lover. Oh, I would call it a friend.
I become more attached to each one of these, in a sense, like they're a friend, because the walker, for example, has gotten me all over the place, and I've done it from the basics of getting to the bathroom, which is rather embarrassing to tell you, to going for a walk over a road that's kind of rough and like a mountainous path kind of thing.
When you're in a wheelchair, you're pushing with either one hand, and I'm lucky a lot of people can't use their legs in a wheelchair where I can, and so they have to use, and there's nothing to put anything on. And so when I go to a grocery store or anything, to push a cart and then push the wheelchair with the cart is very hard.
Oh my God, that sounds like a workout.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they have the small carts now in some of the stores, you know, the little ones, and they work out tremendously because they're smaller and you can move. But when I go to another store and there's nothing, I have to put my purse around mine and put a bag in there, and then I put stuff in the bag, and then I can push around and go around, and it looks like I'm stealing things. I'm really not. Doesn't work by putting something in the back because you can't reach.
Here's a tool that I'll bet you guys can't figure this one out. It does have the handle on it, and you put your foot in there to pull your leg up. This is like dealing with your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend. You have, especially if you have a kid involved or whatever the case may be, you have to put up with it. You don't have to like it. I do not like this item, but I have to use it.
And like I said before, at least I don't have to worry about this one breaking down, or if it does break down, it's a heck of a lot cheaper to fix than a motorized chair, because I've gotten caught in the street before with cars honking at me in the motorized chair.
Oh
and like,
God.
get out of the road, what are you doing in the middle of the road? I'm not just painting my nails, I'm not taking a nap, I'm not reading a book. You can see I'm clearly stuck, or I hope you can see.
My disability is pretty invisible, and so I am going to have more people that are prejudiced against me. I will have people who are more likely to think I really don't need the assistance. And I've had confrontations in the parking lot about, various things, from using the parking spot to using my own, I can get out of the car with a cane and people still be prejudiced against me and think that I'm just faking it.
Well, no, a chair that works okay doesn't die in the middle of the day after being charged. I mean, he's like, well, you could take it back and test it. And I said, I got a better idea. Why don't you take it out and test it? And then when you get stranded, you can walk your sorry ass back here and tell me that it broke. But when I get stranded,
Well, the ones to the gripper and the stocking to put on your stocking was because I can't bend over due to my hips. And the wheelchair was so I can come back to work, and I only have a temporary hip in
Okay.
that can break without me knowing it, and I would just fall down.
Okay.
And so I'm scared to walk at work with it, and if I walk long distance, then my other hip hurts so bad.
I was able to function without them. But after falling off the toilet twice, I was just like, okay, guess I need them. And I was trying to avoid getting the ones that I actually got because they remind me of the ones that I had when I was a little kid, and they were cheap and flimsy. And I even to this day I have fears of putting my whole weight on the bars because I feel like I don't know, they're gonna snap or something's gonna happen and I'm gonna fall. What I would have preferred to have used was the grab bars that they use in like public restrooms and that. But if I do that, then it's a lot more invasive. I mean, like I make holes in the walls and I gotta get permission to do it and everything. So I'm just like, yeah, this works, you know?
There is a certain amount of vulnerability with every device because when people see that you use, for example, if I'm using a cane, I feel vulnerable and yet slightly empowered. Vulnerable because people know that I'm weak, and empowered because people know that I I feel like I have a weapon. A weapon of, it's like a baseball bat. So I have a cane/club. Although I wish that it came with a few extra devices like on the James Bond movie. That'd be kind of fun.
Out of the two devices, your cane and your wheelchair, which one do you think makes you feel more secure?
The wheelchair, because I know I can't pull.
Which one do you like better? Would like using better?
I would love to be able to just plain walk with my cane without hurting.
Okay.
Without the turtle shell or without assistive devices for breathing, it feels like I have plastic over my face, and so I try to take a breath in, and I can't because the diaphragmatic muscle is paralyzed. So it's comforting to have something do the breathing for you. It's kind of like, probably you guys could relate to it if you've ever had an experience where you got too much water in your lungs, you were swimming and choking. It's kind of nice to have assistance with breathing. So it was comforting to have something help me out and allow me to trust a device that would help me to breathe. And I kind of started joking about it after a while and called it my Ninja Turtle shell because it would make me strong and powerful. Because if I used it correctly, it would restore energy and allow me to not only breathe but on the machine, but allow me to have enough energy to breathe off the machine.
It depends. Depends on what I'm doing. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel safer in my chair because I can't fall. Well, I shouldn't say I can't fall, but the likelihood that I'm gonna fall is diminished greatly if I'm using my chair. I suppose if I'm on my crutches, because I could slip on something very easily, some water or something just on the floor, and down I go.
The kids call it the claw.
The claw. That's funny.
Are they scared of it?
No,
They're not.
they play with it. And when smaller kids come over, like my great-granddaughter who's 5, they take the cane and they use it as a microphone. And they'll sing with the top part being the mic.
Oh my goodness.
And dance and stuff with the cane. And now the little one that's 1 is walking, and she'll take the cane and use it and tries to be me walking with the cane. But each one of my kids have always done that, little
Is that
grandkids.
right? Oh.
This is called a grabber. You guys have seen this on commercial. Looks like kind of like a child's rubber band gun, and I like it. It's a lot of fun. I can use this for a variety of things. I use it to grab items when I can't reach it, and when I'm in either a hospital bed or in a chair, where when I can't walk or move, then this is a really handy thing. Fun part is grabbing a dog or a cat or a grandkid. That's kind of fun too, or somebody else. So it makes it kind of a multitask tool. I like it a lot. It looks like a little gun. It looks like a little rubber band gun. I'm short, although my kids are tall, and they put things in tall places. I can outsmart the kids with this thing. Whereas society accepts these devices, it's easier for the individual to accept them, but it still is a process that they must walk through.
I mean, I've resigned myself to the fact that I'm never going to be able to walk unassisted, you know, which is fine, because I think the way I present myself and the way I communicate to people is a far greater asset than my ability to walk, you know, like, I just think so, you know, so
For sure.
it doesn't really bother me.
I used to hate assistive devices. I viewed them as the enemy, as a defeat. I wanted to stay away from assistive devices because that meant I was going downhill. Now I look at it in a reverse way, as it means I can do more. And because of that, I've been able to turn my thoughts toward the assistive devices as being a friend, as being a part of my fun life, not just a part of functional life.